Hi, I'm Sarah. Welcome to the Daily Englisher. Today's guest is Achille. Achille is originally from Quebec, but he moved to the United States when he was a child. I asked him about what it was like moving to another country and learning a new language. And I also asked him why he decided to be a WWOOF host.
I don't know about decide to, but what keeps us doing it is the exposure to younger people and people from other cultures and other countries, and both of us have traveled a lot and we enjoy having exposure to diversity.
Why did your parents decide to move to the States? And she was from Quebec. When you moved to the States, did you speak any English? Was moving to the States difficult because of the language difference? How did you learn? How long was it before you stopped speaking French? Did people recognize that you had a French accent? Why did you go to a French school when you moved to the States? Did you keep up the French study when you were a teenager? Did you continue using French much in your adult life?
My mother, I just moved with my mother, who had just divorced my first stepfather, and she was off to find a new life. So we moved to New York City. Yes, although she would have people believe that she was from France because she wanted a new life as a French woman, not a Québécoise. A little bit. I had learned it while my mother was married to my first stepfather, because he was Anglo and didn't speak any French. So I learned a little bit from being around him and around somebody who worked for him, who I spent a lot of time with. I don't recall it being difficult. I just remember being really hungry to learn English. So that's what I spent all my time doing, really. I didn't have anything else to do. Mostly from spending time with this young man who was a cabin boy on our boat. I just hung out with him, and since he didn't speak any English, any French, I didn't. I just had to learn, and I don't know how I learned. Except that I remember always asking my mother what words meant. I'm not sure. I know that I wanted to blend in and be like the other kids, and so as much as I could, I tried not to be different. So my mother would speak to me in French and I would answer in English as soon as I could. I imagine so. In fact, people recognized that I had a Québécois accent, which is a bit embarrassing because I was in a French school in New York City where most of the teachers were French, a fair amount of the students were French, and I was instructed by my mother to say I was French, but I was Québécois. And so I remembered my first day in school and somebody saying, "Where are you from?" And I said, "France." And they said, "Where?" And I said, "Paris." And they said, "You don't sound like you're from Paris." And so then I thought of other alternatives, and I came back and said, well, spent a lot of time in the south of France. And then they said, well, you don't sound like the south of France. And then I thought, So I said, well, we also spent a lot of time in Switzerland. And so I kept on thinking of other places everywhere except Quebec, because I wasn't supposed to be from Quebec, except that I sounded, obviously, in retrospect, as an older person, I'm sure most people knew I was from Quebec, but I was supposed to pretend I wasn't. My mother wanted me to, I think, learn English and also to keep French as part of my language base. And I think she thought it would probably be the easiest place for me to learn English, since they did teach English to French kids.
Okay.
But most of the classes were held in French so that American kids could learn French. Yeah, it helped bolster my otherwise rather poor grade point average, because French was pretty easy, and since it was meant for fairly elementary people, and even as an 8-year-old I could speak more easily than Americans. It's part of how I got my grade point average high enough to make it into college. As an adult, I started wanting to speak French again, and went and spent time in France, and went and spent time in Quebec, and I've had lovers that were French, and now I'm with Françoise, and so. But I'm a bit lazy, and sometimes I have to search. Well, I'm a lot lazy, but sometimes I have to search for words or vocabulary in French, and so often I'll speak franglais. I'll start a sentence in French, and when I hit a word that I don't remember, I'll switch to English, and I won't go back to French unless somebody reminds me. And Françoise, if I do that, she'll just switch to English, and so we'll rarely have a very long conversation in French, unless we have French guests, in which case I rarely speak, because she and the French guests usually speak so rapidly that by the time I figure out what I'm going to say, they've already gone 3 sentences down the road. So I become quiet. And not talkative like I am now.
Where is Achille originally from? A. Paris, B. the south of France, C. Quebec, D. Nelson, E. California. C. Who did Achille move to the States with? A. his wife, B. his friend, C. his lover, D. his mother, E. his father. D. In what way did Achille say he was hungry when he went to the States? A. He was hungry because they were poor. B. He was hungry to learn English. C. He missed French food. D. He missed Quebec food. E. He lost his appetite. B. What was Achille supposed to pretend when he was a child? A. That he wasn't from Quebec. B. That he was from Paris. C. That he was from Switzerland. D. That he was from the south of France. E. That he was from New York. A. Why did Achille say he speaks franglais? A. Because it is a beautiful language. B. Because it is fun. C. Because he lives in Nelson. D. Because he's from Quebec. E. Because he is lazy. E. And that was the Daily Englisher. See you tomorrow.